I was paid to put on a killer show.
All right. It is Lighthouse Jock number 16. And we're going to get a little bit up close and personal today. If you're listening to the audio version, you will have zero idea what I mean by that. But if you're watching the video version on YouTube, actually, you know what? You could be watching the video version on Spotify, too. I stand corrected. Wait a minute. No, just kidding. I'm sorry, Spotify. I do not have video for you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. Anyway, so, yeah, I started to change the camera setup in here a little bit. Unfortunately, I have not completely finished with it yet, which is why it looks a little wonky. Like, you can see behind me, like, look at this look at how uneven this is. I didn't even like put it below me because I'm sitting on a comfy chair now and not a $10 Walmart office chair that I bought for the purposes of using for like a week when I moved here, and then next thing you know, it's like 13 months later and whoops, still using that chair and it sucks. And I've had a comfortable chair sitting next to me this whole time. The problem with it is that it was formerly a cat chair. So it had to be deep cleaned, of course. You know the deal. You know the deal. Yeah, we're changing up the image too, by the way. I'm taking a page out of Tim Pool's book. Look, if you don't know who that is, trust me, you're a much better person than I am. If you do know who that is, I'm sorry that you're in that world. The problem is that you can know who he is and not really have an opinion either way, for or against him. But it doesn't. You're sitting there right now going, just shut the fuck up. Do I really want to hear about Tim Pool? No. I don't even either, except for the fact that, you know what, I'm a beanie guy now. I hate to do it. I hate to make the transition, but I had that midlife crisis moment at work the other day where, so I'm well aware that I'm losing my hair, right? You know, the receding hairline, it's like Norwooding. Oh man, we're 3 minutes in and already we're 2 for 2 on like very online things. If you know, you know. If you don't know, just try and stick with me here. You can at least laugh at me for having a midlife crisis, because we have this machine in the break room, right, where it's kind of like the honor system, right, where they have a vendor where you probably have a cafeteria or somewhere like this if you work in an office or anywhere like that, right, where they have a whole kind of cafeteria set up, but it's serve yourself, right? So you go just grab whatever the fuck you want and you scan it on the machine, and it's like self-checkout. It's that's what it is. It's self-checkout basically with cameras there. But the problem is, right, is that in order to prevent people from like stealing the shit, which makes sense, of course, they show you on camera, right? Like you know how when you go to Walmart and you use the self-checkout machine and they have the camera that's right there that shows you like the camera's view of you. This the self-checkout, like the vending machine type, or not the vending machine, it's basically a vending machine, somewhat. Self-checkout at work, right? The camera is overhead, right? So it points down at you, and it points very, very specifically. You know, when people start losing their hair, the first, one of the first places that it goes, obviously, like is the receding hairline, right? And then that other spot where you start to Norwood, to online term, is right in like the back part of your skull, right? That's where some of the hair starts to go, like that part where you're a baby and they tell you don't touch on that, it's soft. It's soft, and if you poke on that, you'll poke the baby's brain. Try it. Just don't try it. I have a niece that was like just born in the last few months and is still like very infant age, like can't hold her own head up age. Yeah, that's scary to even think about. Jeez. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put that energy out there into the world. So the camera that points down at in the break room, right? It pointed specific right at my bald spot, and you know that's a part of your head that you can't normally see in a mirror, right? Like you're staring at yourself in the mirror, like when you go take a shower in the morning, right? And you're looking at the mirror and you're at yourself, and you don't see that part back there behind your head, right? You have to like do some very specific looking, like unless you have one of those hand mirrors that women use on their drawers that they have in their bedroom that they do all their makeup on, that, you know, one of those hand mirrors. There's probably a name for it. I have no idea. But you unless you have one of those and you're like putting that behind you and you're like actively keeping track of like, oh, I'm going bald. That I never had that moment, right? I never had that moment. It's like, it's one of those things where like, you know what's happening. You know what's happening, but until you see it for yourself, it's the difference between knowing something and like feeling it. And seeing that reflection, like seeing the shot of myself like overhead with that the bald spot getting bigger. Oh man, I audibly yelled like, "What the f***? It's that big!" in the middle of the break room. And look, the couple people that heard it had some laughs, but because taken out of context, you know, nobody said that's what she said. And you can't say it yourself, right? Like, not even Michael Scott would do that, I don't think. But so yeah, I'm a beanie guy now because we're going bald. Not we. I say that like I'm talking to you as though you're chat. Like I'm one of those streamers. Like, I know XQC is the obvious one. Who's the big one right now? Why is everybody watching Kai Cenat, by the way? Isn't he? I don't even want to get into that. It's just literally streamers they exist to be obnoxious, but people like it, by the way. But it's too late because you already like them and you've already developed your parasocial relationship with them. That's why it's doomed for Zoomers, by the way. They've already developed the parasocial relationship with all these idiot streamers like Kai Cenat and Pokimane and all those other idiots and Ludwig and who else is there? You know who I'm talking about. But it's too late for them. They have already developed their parasocial relationships with them, and it's too late to quit them. It's too late, so they're just all doomed. They're all doomed. But funnily enough, fortunately for you and fortunately for me, me going bald is not all that I want to spend 45 minutes talking about today. Look, I know that's shocking to you and to me. Oh, by the way, I guess we kind of have to break into it. We might as well do it at the start.
Housekeeping.
Look, I know.
Housekeeping.
It's supposed to be
later,
interesting
please.
first.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I get it. Nobody... You're talking about the show already, 9 minutes in. But it's kind of relevant. Aren't you supposed to be interesting first? Okay, I get it, YouTube commenter. By the way, there was a YouTube commenter that actually had a good point that everything related to the audio on the show is f***ed up right now. And I understand. I'm trying to fix it and triage things here and there, but just some of the equipment is just broken. But I can't sit here and not do shows, so maybe I'll find some different editing tools. Thank you, YouTube commenter. But not thank you, YouTube commenter, to the hypothetical YouTube commenter that's like, really, you're talking about the show 9 minutes in? Well, I have to, because obviously if you're watching the camera, it looks like absolute dog shit right now. Like, man, it probably doesn't bother anybody without OCD. But if you do have OCD, then like you're looking at this shit behind me, you're better off listening to the audio for this one. In fact, maybe I should turn the camera off. Nah. Then that makes the whole beanie bit like just not it doesn't function. Then the show won't function anymore. I can't in good conscience do that. But you should still probably be listening to the audio version of this. Anyway, so as you can see, it clearly looks like absolute behind me, right? Like, if you don't have OCD, it doesn't bother you. But if you do have OCD like me, then you're looking at this, going, what the f-? And I'm in the process of fixing that. Now, the thing is that my nephew, who is 10 years old, is an artist, right? And I want to be a good influence on him, right? And, also give him chances similar to, like, chances here and there that I had at that age to, like, earn decently big amounts of money, right? Because it gives you a chance to, build some responsibility. Like, what are you going to do with it? Like, my other nephew, he's a year younger, right? And he made a decision that I was very, very impressed with recently. Like, for instance, oh man, I'm getting sentimental talking about family stuff already. Anyway, so he made a decision that really impressed me, right? And so obviously I talked about, I don't know if it was the last episode or the episode before, about how I got into Pokemon cards because of them, right? And he wanted this, there's this, like, every time a set comes out, right, there's this, like, little preview pack that kind of comes the week or two before it comes out, that you can go to a card shop, and it's basically a chance to, like, play the new set early. And they have special packs that, like, special little boxes that let you play the game a specific way. But anyway, they sell those separately, right? And he wanted to spend $25 on one of those. And the problem with those things is that they're useless. Like, those, it's literally just like, unless you pull something good from, like, the 4 packs that you get from it, it's legitimately an absolutely useless product. And the only reason that I ever bought any of them was for fun. But that's like a lot of money to you at that age, right? And so he made the decision. He was dead set on it. And I was going to go to a card shop, buy one. He was going to give me the money. I was going to go get it for him, right? And he made the decision, like, literally the day that I was going to go get it. He used his mom to send me a text. It's like, hey, I decided I'm going to use the $25 on something else. And I remember reading that and going, damn, I'm impressed. I'm glad that you thought about that, because you're about to waste $25, which at 9 years old is a lot of money. You're about to, like, throw $25 down the drain on something that's, like, useless. Packs are straight up useless. Like, honestly, if you're a trading card game player, packs are useless. You're just better off buying what you need, which is what I'm doing now. Anyway, so the other nephew, right, the one that's a year older than him, the artist, I'm commissioning him. I'm paying him $50, right, which is a lot of money at that age. You got to give him just a little, not too much to where they get a big head about it, but just enough to where they're like, oh, I have a decent amount of money right now. What can I do with this? You're 10 years old. Then just think back. If you're capable of, like, having a memory of yourself at 10 years old, I know it's hard. For some people, it might be harder because that was much longer ago. It's even starting to get harder for me. I can't give anyone about that. Don't get me wrong. But that's what's going to go behind me, right? Is I commissioned here. I'll turn the camera off for just a second if you're watching the YouTube video. Obviously, we got the animated Lighthouse Jock background here, and I'm getting a canvas painting of that from him. I'm just going to take a picture of it, show it to him, and go, all right, make me a painting of that. And we're going to hang that back here behind me so that it can be on camera. And I'm eventually going to fix everything behind me too, but I got to get that done. Got to get that done first. Imagine, so, by the way, when you go to Walmart, I've been really kind of getting into this, like, art stuff recently, especially because I've been buying him stuff to do it. Like, I bought him paint and some practice canvases to use, right? And so when you're looking at the craft section of, like, Target and Walmart, I've gone to both of them. Unfortunately, I can't go to Joann Fabrics because they're closing, and I'm not particularly looking for fabrics, but I'm sure they have what I need there. If not, then that's why they went out of business. I hate to say. Actually, I don't hate to say. I don't care to say. But I've been kind of getting into that like art stuff. I know that sounds stupid, but getting into that whole art stuff recently. So they have these. You should try this, by the way. And I thought about buying one, but I will do it like literally the day that I feel like doing it and just straight up go out and buy it and come home and do it that day. And I wasn't going to do it that day. But they have these like pre-made canvas kits at Walmart. In fact, let me see if I can bring one up. Canvas self kit. They have these they have these like canvas sets that come with a whole thing. Like they come with a whole setup. They come with a set of paint. They come with a canvas. And what the canvas has on it is the canvas has kind of like a stencil kit, right? Where it'll show you like kind of where to paint and what to like, how much intensity to use. It's kind of weird. I can't find it on the Walmart website. I don't know why, but I was thinking about getting one of those, and this would be, I get it. I would be a huge asshole for doing this, but I kind of want to just buy one of those, like those like the stencil-ish kit. The problem is like you paint over it and you can't see the stencil anymore. So it is technically cheating, but it's like one of those adult coloring books. It's basically that. It's like it gives you all the answers, but it's still fun. It's basically the equivalent of a adult coloring book. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. That's fine. But I was thinking about getting one of those and sitting there with him and painting with him and going, all right, you know what? If mine's better, you're not getting the $50, dude. That would be so terrible. I would be such a dick by doing that. I'm not going to, but that thought crossed my mind. If you really want to be a positive influence, maybe you got to be the one that like teaches him the harsh lesson about life. Because he is the type that's going to like get out ahead of it and try and, I know he's going to put the effort into it, but I don't know if, how do I put this? Excuse me. I don't know if he's developed the patience yet, like the skill, which, it happens. You don't like learn that skill until like a certain point of your development. It kind of comes over time. You slowly build it. I don't know if he's at the patience level yet to be able to sit down and like meticulously take days on doing the painting, because this is look, check it out. It's going to take some a lot of colors, a lot of layers. I think. I don't know. I know he's going to put forth the effort on it. The problem is that like, what amount of time would be necessary for something like that? Do you think? I don't know. I'm not going to do it. I just think it's funny to possibly do it. The thought crossed my mind. It did. So there's something that's been on my mind lately. Now that we're kind of done with housekeeping, and it's something that like heavily weighs on me. And we'll get to that in a moment. By the way, that'll probably be the only other thing that we get to today. We're gonna save Severance for next time because I'm a couple episodes behind. Okay, so the last one that I saw was the one, it was like episode 4, I think, where they went out into I don't even remember what the initiative was called, but they went into the outdoor winter mountain camp. That was the last one I saw. And I know that there's been a few of them since then, and it's gotten really good. So we'll deeper dive into that next time. next week. But I kind of want to get into a little bit of a heavier topic today. Look, I know it's kind of weird. That isn't usually my specialty. The specialty is to kind of like circle the drain on important topics, not really do a deep dive into them, but just like kind of circle the drain and sarcastically like poke at it and never really make a full personal commitment to it. Of course, that's the most important part, right? Is to never put your this is complete sarcasm, by the way, but the most important part of it is to never put your reputation and your own like self, never put your own sense of identity into anything that you do or anything that you say. I forgot where I was going with that. I was making something about how I want to get to something a little bit heavy, which seems a little bit unusual, but I think we've done it a couple times. We've done it a couple times. But today, look, I want to talk about the idea of like friendship, because I know that's so vague. That is like one of the biggest things that you could even possibly begin to tackle, because it's such a broad topic, right? But it's one of those things that has been on my mind lately, and there's something that I'm a little bit I have a situation that I'm a little bit confused by, that I may need some help. And I also want to like kind of maybe help you assess a little bit in terms of like how good of a friend either you're being to someone, or how, just straight up how good of friends that you have like in your life. This might be an opportunity to like kind of reassess some of that stuff. So I guess I'll kind of start with like what brought this to my mind in the first place, which is we're nearing on more than a year that I've lived here in Tennessee. Now, unfortunately, I've talked about this problem many, many times before, but unfortunately, I live like kind of smack dab in the middle of where, not literally in the middle, where a whole bunch of shit is to where I can go to them, but I'm talking about like where I have exciting stuff like an hour east of me and an hour west of me, and I'm like right smack dab in the middle of where the stuff is, an hour in either direction, where there's not really much going on besides, you know, Boomer Town. But I didn't know that when I came here. You know, I just kind of picked up, randomly left Florida and decided to move up here, and found the first and cheapest place that I could, and was insanely lucky to find. But now we're dealing with the consequences of that, where, you know, one of the common things, one of the common like motifs of this specific sphere of online culture, which is like the pickup artist type sphere, you know, the kind of sphere that like that teaches you how to like deal with and sleep with women, which is basically like targeted at incels. Unfortunately, this doesn't apply to me. It just comes as a bit of an interest because I read about it a lot, and a lot of these people are completely ridiculous. Right now, the advice itself, I just kind of look at it from a neutral, objective point of view, coming from the point of like a, you know,
Right?
Sexual.
So obviously the idea of picking up women doesn't necessarily appeal to me, right? But one of the common pieces of advice that they give to people is like, look, I get that the end goal is to like get your trad wife and move out to the sticks, the rural suburbs, and like just live on a farm and grow your own food and do the homesteading bullshit, right? Which is great if you can do it. I know somebody that's doing it, and it's working out great for him. Seems pretty happy, pretty solid life. But for most of us, it's not really a tenable option. And so one of the pickup advice or pickup artist advice in that specific sect of the online world, right? Is that, okay, you got to find your wife, you got to find your, if you're a woman, you got to find your husband, right? Before you move out to the sticks, because it's impossible to meet people out there, because it's impossible to like find a partner, because it's impossible to like even meet friends, because it's impossible to do any of that stuff. And my dumbass did not listen to that. I knew that before I left Florida and came here. I knew that. And I kind of did it a little bit on purpose, right? But here's the problem, though, is that here we are like 13, 14 months later. I don't even know at this point. What are we in? Almost March. Jeez. But so I've been here for almost like 14 months, right? And I haven't made a single new friend up here. To be fair, though, I've made acquaintances. I have coworkers that I talk to about stuff, but I don't, that's just about it. I would put it at about like acquaintance level, unfortunately. But here's the problem with that, right? Not with that specifically. Now, the thing that I f***ed up on in particular is I'm one of the types of people that like doesn't have a very large like social group, but the few people that I have been able to get close to, I'm like, you're very close to, right? It feels like that's how a lot of people want to operate, but I didn't do it by choice. That's just kind of how it happened. Although, to be fair, if I were to do it by choice, I would also have done it that way too. Funnily enough, who would have guessed? But one of the things that I f***ed up on over the last 14 months, right, is, and there's something that like really, really heavily weighs on me that I feel like I have to make right. And I'm kind of just airing out for the sake of confessing, I suppose. Look, I have Catholicism as my heritage, so, confession would not be completely out of the realm of possibility here. I guess this could be like kind of confession. But so one of my best friends, right, that I've known since high school, that's pretty much the only people that I still know from Florida, except for the people that I got close to when I moved to Orlando. Although we all kind of went our separate ways, and I'll get to that in a moment, because there's something that happened there that makes me kind of question things and myself and my own judgment a little bit. And this might get you to kind of question your sense of judgment a little bit too. Okay, so going back to the thing that I f***ed up on over the last 14 months, the thing that heavily weighs on me is my kind of distancing from maintaining communication with them. Now, at the same time, there's somebody that I know that I lived in Orlando with that I got close to like much, much later in life. And he and I are both the type of people that could, like, for instance, never talk to each other over the span of like a year or 2 years, and then talk to each other, and it would be like nothing or no time has passed, right? And I never put that to the test. I never put that to that kind of dynamic to the test with the friends that I had in Florida, right? Because I knew them in person for most of my life. And even when one of the friends that I had moved away to Colorado, I've told stories about doing stuff with him before, I believe, on the show, right? But when he moved away, he was very good about maintaining contact with me, right? And I did not do the same thing. Now, his dad died last year, roughly around this time. It was towards the beginning of the year, too. And I was there in Florida, happened to be at the time. I had already moved to Tennessee, but that was the time that I went there. Went back to Florida on vacation for just a week. That was when I went to quit my job. I talked about it a few episodes ago, many episodes back, but, You shouldn't go back and listen to it because it's terrible. So that's the gist of it. But when I moved away, or when he moved away, he was very good about it. And when I had other things going on, when I had a very tumultuous time in my life, I did not. Now, the way that I lied to myself about it was the idea of, I was there when it happened and I was very like supportive at the time, but then, he went back to Colorado, I went back to Tennessee, and we haven't talked at all since then. And my rationale behind giving him some time was, all right, look, I should probably give him some space. I'm going to let him grieve. And I think that was the wrong thing to do because my conscience has been eating at me for like a year about that, because, that part of your brain that's like, the thing that I felt like God told me, honestly, which is kind of the context now for your inner conscience, your inner voice, like that is different from you, telling you, hey, you f***ed up here. And the way I f***ed up here was, guess when somebody needs your support the most, probably, is about a time like that. And you know what my stupid ass thought? No, I should probably just give him some space. Now, you know how stupid that was? You know how stupid that is? I still feel bad about that. In fact, I need to write that like immediately, immediately. That's still eating at me today. I don't really know why. Well, of course I know why, because you were being terrible, funnily enough. But I never put the theory to the test with them as to whether or not we had that type of relationship, of whether or not we could go a very long time without talking and still kind of resume as if nothing happened. I had assumed so, right? But again, that was very like self-centered of me to think that, look, because I have that particular personality trait, and because most of the other people that I've bonded with in life have that personality trait, that I would assume that another specific person has that personality trait, which is just, it's bad. It's the absolute wrong thing to do. But there was another thing that happened, right, that leads me to believe that I'm the one that's f***ing up. Because here's the thing, right? When you go a very, very long time having failed in like the same area, or having difficulties in the same area, at some point, or you might not think it's you that has the difficulties with it. You might just think that it's like an unlucky circumstance. But at some point, if you have too many unlucky circumstances in very similar situations, guess what the common denominator is? Guess what the constant is there? It's you, right? And when I realized that like all my friendships tend to fade away, guess what? That tends to, guess where the constant is? You follow me? You get what I'm saying here? So it might be time to like think about it. It might be time to like check in on the people that you haven't talked to for a while. It might be about that time. It's definitely time for me. And it's just so uncomfortable, but you've got to be the one to do it. Like, you've got to be the one to extend the olive branch at some point. Like, you have to be proactive. You have to go, like, make the next step in life instead of waiting for life to come to you. You just have to go to it. Every day is a new chance to, get back up and do stuff, and, all the motivational rah-rah bullshit, But yeah, it's not too late. It's really not too late. It's definitely not too late for me. I've got to find the time to do that soon. So another thing that I want you to consider is your judge of character, right? And I had one of those situations, not recently. I would say this was about 9-ish months ago. And a recent situation at work got me to like rethink this, and it put it back on my mind recently because, you know, when it first happened like 9 months ago, it bothered me for a while, and, you know, time heals everything eventually. Eventually it just kind of fades away and turns back into something that you just kind of wrap up in a little bow and throw in the back of your mind that's like, I'll deal with that later. Or in therapy. Or if you're a male on a podcast. Don't at me about that. But so it initially bothered me. Jeez, that's a stutter. But then when this thing at work happened, that was roughly about like the same thing, right? It released all of that trauma from like almost a year ago, I would say, and is caused it to be put back on my mind. And hey, what's the common theme between what I'm about to get to and not keeping in touch with people and not having made any new friends in the last 14 months since being here? What's the common denominator between all of that? It's you. It is not you, literally, and probably you. It could be you. If this applies to you, then look, it's time to check yourself before you wreck yourself. That doesn't mean anything at all. But yeah, it's so at work, I guess I'll tell that story first, and it might give you an idea as to where we're going to go with this. So at work, we had a guy who, you know, eventually what happens when you get to know someone, right, is you kind of develop an idea of whether it be fake or real, this kind of closeness that you might have with them. You develop a familiarity with them. You start to think like you know them as a person, right? And your sense of identity is kind of tied to your judgment on that person, right? And you think, all right, I'm making a good call on my assessment about this person, right? And that gives you a certain sense of confidence, right? And so what happened is this person did something bad. I only know what happened allegedly, right? Allegedly, there was some sort of sexual assault type incident in the parking lot, potentially. I don't know. And when the perpetrator, right, is somebody that you think you know, and the same thing, something similar happened about 9 months ago, right, to one of my best friends, somebody that I thought I knew, somebody that I thought that this is not the exact same thing. In fact, I would classify what happened about a year ago with the person that was my friend and not the person at work, right? I would classify what the person that my friend did is what the thing that my friend did is way, way worse, right? But the common theme behind that, right, is the idea that, like, I thought I knew this person. I thought I knew somebody. And then when they do something that's like absolutely heinous, that goes so far outside of your moral compass that it completely shatters your world and it shatters your self-identity about your judgment about that person, right? You start to question, like, where else you've misjudged everything. And you start to question, like, a lot of things about the way that you judge people, right? So a little less than a year ago, one of my best friends, again, a person that I, to a greater degree, the thing from work was just not, you know, that it happened and then we all kind of forgot about it, right? But that was not an extreme example of any sort of real emotional investment at all. It was just kind of like a blip that reminded you of, like, the mountain that was behind it. That was this, which is that supposedly, and again, this is allegedly, there was some sort of an incident with one of my friends and his friend and his son, right? Supposedly, allegedly. All I know is what happened. supposedly. Now, the part where I fucked up is the thing that gets on my guilty conscience about this, and the reason that I'm being so dodgy right now is because I'm just struggling to press forward with this. But it's got to happen, you know. It's just straight up got to happen in order to make any healing done. That's how it goes. But the thing that makes me like feel especially guilty about that, right, is the fact that I never responded to the attempt to like clarify what happened, because supposedly what happened was so heinous that like if it happened anywhere even close to how it was reported to me, then, you know, that's just it. That's completely irredeemable. There's no coming back from that if it's even close to that. And my rationale at the time was that, look, there's no way you can clarify that. There's no way you can clarify that at all. But now that nagging voice in the back of my head tells me, you probably should have got all sides of the story. At least. It could have been completely full of shit, but, you know, we probably should have. That might have been the intellectually honest thing to do. But still, if it was even anything resembling what was told to me, then nope, it's over. I was right to just allow that one to vanish too. So that brings me to the current situation, right? Which is, not only should you be assessing like how others are in their friendships to you, but now might be the time as a radical personal responsibilityist to look, I'm making up terms here. That's just how it goes. As a radical personal responsibilityist. I'm just going to let you sit with that for a minute. Just the pure genius of that. Sat with it? Good. But as one of those, right, not only should you be analyzing other people's friendships with you, but it's time to also start like analyzing your friendships with other people. And when you do that on an intellectually honest level, when I started doing it at an intellectually honest level, I started to realize like, wait a minute, I'm a terrible friend. that might explain why a lot of them go sour. And that might explain, and not necessarily like bad sour to where it's like just bad falling out. It just fades. It's just like you're boring, and it's just, you know, the spark just kind of vanishes, which happens sometimes. That's just how life goes, you know. But it might be time to start like evaluating why that is on your end, and not just assigning. Because what we tend to do, right, is we tend to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt that we don't give others. And you have to remind yourself to do that occasionally, right? You know, you think, all right, well, I think about this a certain way, but what about, you know, how they might think about it? Just little things here and there. So if there's any one thing that I want you to take away from this show tonight is to, look, is just start making the stuff right. Start wronging some rights in your friendships, especially if you know it's you that f***ed up. If you don't think it's you that f***ed up, maybe it could be still you that f***ed up. But it's time to start taking an intellectually honest look at it. So I have one potential friend from work, but the problem is that as we've discussed before, as a
Right?
Sexual.
I also have a huge crush on him, which is bad because, you know, I'm pretty sure he's engaged. He's like, geez, it's bad. I don't know why. Oh, apparently I've heard that if you're only attracted to people that are unavailable to you, like that's my style, by the way, is unfortunately I'm only attracted to like straight-esque people. I don't know. That's a lot of mostly my type. Also blondes. Anyway. So that's the problem, right? is that I do. But also, he is seems like a genuinely good person, share similar interests, right? Have vibe somewhat, we can seem to have decent conversations with each other. And I just don't know if I can get past it. Like, I don't know if I want to put forth the effort to, like, foster a friendship with him due to the fact that I have a crush on him. But at the same time, he's also, like, he's a decent person. If it's on me, if I could get over it, he would be a good friend, But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get over it. He's so hot, by the way. God, I was about to say GD. I can't do that. I already have so many I got to edit out of this show. Anyway, so that's the less serious take, though. I guess that's where we go from here. Why am I like that? That's just how it goes, though. Look, we got to deal with one problem at a time. Anyway. Wow. That's 45 minutes. That was good stuff. It was cathartic. Might be time to start righting some wrongs. Oh, that beautiful YouTube thumbnail, by the way, and title to the episode. Are you a bad friend? That's... YouTube's going to love that. YouTube's going to love it. Anyway. All right, so yeah, we'll get to Severance next time. And whatever the else is going on in the world. We'll probably do some kind of bit, too. Ooh, we might, if I could... Oh, I've seen some terrible ads lately. All right, we'll do Who Wants to Be a Hater next time, too. Oh, baby. Anyway. Love you all. See you next week. You know what? Oh, I'm sorry. That can't be the outro. The audio, like the audio completely cut out. Do I have anything else to say? I don't think so. That was terrible. The problem is I just can't drop $300 on a new all the audio equipment that I need right now. I need $300 for at least like 3 or 4 other things first. It doesn't help that the cat jumps on it all the time. And he likes to chew up wires. Anyway. All right, let's try this again. I think it kind of worked towards the end. See, I'm sorry, YouTube commenter, but the audio is just literally almost unfixable right now. What do we got? There we go. Let me get the out of here, please. Still love you all. Bye.
I just want a picture of a goddamn hot dog.